So welcome to Metaphysics in the Bible, week 10 of 10, here live at the Energy Lighthouse and on Zoom. Our topic of the day is Station of the Cross Radio. Tune in. We'll go over what's happening in the sky, and the question for the day is, what do the stations of the cross mean to you? So we had a whole bunch of great responses. Some people have never even heard of the stations of the cross, which is okay, because the story that's behind it isn't one that is worth trying to hang on to, because it's confusing. So I will type these in later and add it to the video when we edit them, anonymously, obviously. With the knowledge that everything has a metaphysical meaning, what, pray tell, do the stations of the cross represent? Is it about one man carrying a cross in the past, or your journey on the cross? So we're glad you could join us here for the last of the fall season hangouts. Remember, these videos will be posted on YouTube and Facebook with important updates and edits from what we learned today. So we're always adding some things. So what's happening in the sky? There's an important judicial point happening in the sky. And it's called Bene Belgedi. There's a lot of things that are happening with that star. That star is at the end of Capricorn, which is 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the land. In other words, 1 foot in spiritual when you're coming to truth, right? And then 1 foot still on the materialistic earth. And how do you behave when you know that you're starting to wake to the truth and others aren't? And where's your sympathy, your empathy, your love towards those that haven't matured yet? So there's a judicial point. The moon just transited it yesterday. So I've asked people, hey, if you noticed anything yesterday, it could be the beginning of a sign. Again, it all depends on your own natal chart. So if there's something really important that happened to you yesterday that you're kind of going, why did that happen? You can mark that down. But there's a few more that's happening. Here it is here. I'm just going to show it for a second, and then I'll talk about each one of these. So the moon just went by yesterday. So that's the moon. Next, Saturn goes by there, and that's father time. When Saturn goes by there, that's going to be on January the 12th, before he enters into Aquarius. And that's where we're heading, Aquarius. And Aquarius is baptismal waters, forgiveness of sins, forgiving yourself, forgiving others. So that's what this represents. That's the energy that will be present in the sky. And some people feel it more than others based on their natal chart. It's important to note that on January the 12th, that's the day that Eris, Isis, Madonna, Mictaqawada, whatever you want to call her, the pure love, she goes back direct. Because she entered into Pisces the last time, and then she's going into Aries before the Phoenix rising. So that's when we get the most amount of induction of love and clearing us and cleansing us. That's why people are still cleansing, because it ain't going to stop till next year at some point. And maybe it continues on. We'll soon find out. So then Saturn moves into Aquarius. So Saturn moves on the 12th by Bene Belgedi at the end, and then moves into Aquarius. So again, a judicial point. So if something happens on the 12th, know that's a sign for you. And then moves into Aquarius on the 17th. And by the way, that's my parents' anniversary. What a synchronicity. When Saturn moves into Aquarius, that's one more nudge saying to you, hey, are you ready? Have you been forgiving yourself and others? You are infinite, because you are infinite. You are an infinite being. You can grasp that. If whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're seeing is not good, just know that it's there for a reason, and that you do have time. That's what Father Time is going to remind you of. Because again, that is the baptismal waters. Aquarius is the forgiveness of sins. Sine waves are karmic waves. So it's really important that we understand that. And if something happens on that day, it's probably something that you should note and take heed of. And then the sun, you then transit Bene Belgedi, the judicial point. I won't get into detail, but when the moon hit yesterday, there was something very interesting and prominent that happened to me that I made note of. So now when these rests go by, I'll see how I fared, which is really interesting, really cool. So when the sun aligns Bene Belgedi, it's more opportunity for that judicial point. That judicial point meaning, something's got to change. And then beginning of Aquarius, the sun aligns with Saturn, and that's on February the 16th. And how time will affect you on that date. There's be a third sign before we all head towards the marrying Mary on the cross in the east. All right, so that's what's happening in the sky for those who know. So let's talk a little bit about this image right here. The three kings. What does this have to do with the stations of the cross? We'll get into that in a later slide. But for now, if you want to see the true nativity scene in the sky on the evening of December the 24th, while we look to people's neighbors and what kind of lights and material stuff they put up for the nativity scene, it's actually happening in the sky. So on December 24th, December 25th, go outside around midnight, right? And you will see the three kings, which is Orion's belt, and the dog star named Sirius, which we added to our video, this little clip here, the Immaculate Conception of Mary. And they had this little image here of the three kings and the dog star. Well, that's Orion's belt, the three kings, and the dog star. So this thing in the sky manifests on Christmas Eve. Why is that? What does that mean? Right, it's the Christmas story. So it really is about you. All the Bible stories are about what happens in the sky and how it relates to you on your journey. So this is when we take note of things, because this is a crossing point. And we'll talk more about how this fits with the stations of the cross. Not to mention that around December 21st, it's the winter solstice, right? The sun's at the bottom of the chart, or the top for the ones in the south. Okay, so here we go. For those of you, if it's cloudy outside and you can't see where the stars are at, I made a real quick little video just showing you what happens in the sky. There's a star app called Stellarium, and you'll see that I got the date set for November the 30th, which is today, and it's set at 1 second before midnight, and I'm going to show you how this goes. So this is viewing south. So that's view from Windsor, Ontario. If you're south of the equator, you'll look north. If you're on the equator, you will look straight up and see this sign overhead. Oh, my ears ringing, beautiful. When this story was written in Egypt, they were looking more up. So you can see Sirius right here and Orion's belt. And when it lines up in the south, it will be Christmas Eve. We're at the 5th, December 16th, 17th, 18th. Here comes the countdown. Look at that. On December 24th at midnight, there's the nativity scene, the three kings and the child. Right? Westward leading, because this is the east. There's the west. Westward leading, still proceeding, right? Star of wonder, star so bright. Star with royal beauty bright. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky. That's the sun. That sits on the domain of Horus, on the Dendro zodiac. So that's the nativity scene. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? Well, Merry Christmas to all of you, because the best gift anyone can give you is to tell you that you are loved. You are from pure love. And this is the journey about you. You are the chosen one. You are the Christ. This is yours to know. I hope you can swallow that, because this is important. Because everything that happens in the sky is made for you. So let's talk about the Station of the Cross radio. Get ready to tune in, right? You like that old thing there? I like them. My dad had an old record player, that thing there. You tune it in and then that iris opens and closes. That was so cool. Okay, Stations of the Cross in the Bible. So for those of you who have never heard of the Stations of the Cross, this is them. And this is artist renditions of them and going around. Somebody gives him the cross. He falls down a few times. He falls down 3 times. So we'll show you that in this as well. From deepre.org, are the Stations of the Cross mentioned in the Bible? The traditional Catholic stations include a number of episodes that were passed on in early Christian tradition, but not found in the biblical Gospels. So they go through and say this versus that, so it's just like the Bible, just like the calendar, just like languages, all misinterpretations, especially just like the misinterpretations of what's written on the Egyptian walls. And on Wikipedia, it says the Station of the Cross originated in pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Well, we know from previous hangouts that Jerusalem is the zodiac. So let's go to the zodiac to look for the cross. How about that? Let's see if we can find the Stations of the Cross in the zodiac. Wouldn't that be cool? Before we get there, I'm not going to go through these, but this is from Got Questions. So they went through and told you exactly where each one of the stations is written. So you can see they're mostly written in Luke. You got a couple of Johns in there, but then he also has in there to add to, maybe it's in the Bible, it's from the book of John, Hebrews, Acts, Ephesians, Timothy, Corinthians, Isaiah, and Matthew. So I guess they couldn't get the story right, and one guy couldn't get the story right. They needed all kinds of people telling the story. So again, it's just misinterpretations, but it's beautiful breadcrumbs left for us to find the truth, right? So we're gonna move on to something kind of fun in a minute, but we went through this video last week, but I'm just gonna go through the first few numbers, right? So they're adding 0 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 equals 13, right? And all the way up to 144. And if you remember, that plots out that beautiful golden ratio spiral, right? So now hang on to those numbers. Remember 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. So I need a volunteer. I need a volunteer who can add two numbers together, and it's any of those two numbers. And most you have to add is 9 plus 9. That's the hardest thing you'll ever have to add, and you'll know everything about the universe. And this is what we need to teach the kids, Susan. This is the exercise. A volunteer that wants to add some numbers for me? Anybody?
Yep.
Lex, all right. Okay, well, we started off by doing the first ones. Okay, so we're gonna just keep adding numbers, and it's only 60 of them. So 0 plus 1 is 1. So 1 plus 1 is?
2.
1 plus, so see what happened there? 1 plus 1 is 2. So now we're gonna do 1 plus 2. We're gonna just keep adding the last two numbers. What's 1 plus 2?
3.
Okay, what's 2 plus 3?
5.
Okay, notice I got that one green, okay, and the one over here is pink, all right? And then there's the yellow ones that we're gonna focus in on. 3 plus 5?
8.
8 plus 5?
13 becomes 3.
Right, we're gonna drop the 1, right? 8 plus 3?
11 becomes 1.
Right, so see what he's doing? We're only keeping the ones column. We don't need the tens column. That's for accounting and taxes and bankers and politicians. To understand life, we don't need those. We only need 1 through 9 and 0, of course, the all. Okay, so just go ahead, Lex, and just keep going. So I won't say 1,
4.
so 3 plus 1 is?
4.
Next.
5.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah.
4.
See, 14, just keep the 4, right? Yeah.
3.
Yep.
7.
Yep.
0.
Yep.
7.
Yep.
7.
Yep.
4.
Yep.
1.
Yep.
5.
I already got the 5 there. See, oh, wow, how did I know that? Go ahead.
6. 1.
Okay.
7. 8. 5. 3. 8. 1. 9.
Oh, sorry, hang on. 9. Oh. Okay.
0.
Already there.
9.
Okay.
9.
Okay.
8.
Yep.
7.
Yep.
5.
Okay.
2.
Yep.
7.
Yep.
9.
Yep.
6.
Yep.
5.
Okay.
1. 6. 7. 3. 0. 3. 3. 6. 9. 5. 4. 9. 3. 2. 5. 7. 2. 9. 1.
What's 9 plus 1? 10 is a 0. 1, 0, 1 plus 0. 1, 0 plus 1, so it repeats. This is why there's 60 seconds on a clock, because this is the clock of your life. This is the clock of your breath. It's the clock of your infinite lives. It's the clock of how everything works in the universe.
It didn't somehow make sense to me, but it makes more sense to me after doing this.
Right. So let me just bring in a couple things now. Okay, let me show you a few things of the many, many things that's on here, okay? So if you'll notice that this makes a cross. Do you see it? The 4 zeros. Do you see the 4 zeros? In the east, in the south, depending on what side of the earth you're on, in the west, and in the south, or in the north, depending on what side of the earth you're on. So doing this creates the cross. What else does it create? Oh, you guys will probably see this, right? Oh my God, that terrible, awful swastika is there. What do you mean? Well, look at, you got 1011 in the east, the phoenix rising in the Eris, in the Arise, in the Alpha. I am the Alpha and I am the Omega, the last number, the 99099. This is in the West, in the Set, in the Libra, the weighing of the heart before you go into the underworld. At the top of the cross, you got 7077, the 7 colors of the rainbow. The sun is at the top. The stations of the cross are going to come out because of these numbers, so pay attention to these numbers. It's really simple, all right? So are there not 7 colors of the rainbow? Isn't the sun at the top? Right. And then at the bottom of the chart, we got 3033. The bottom of the chart. The winter solstice. So don't forget, this was the spring equinox, the fall equinox. Fall on the cross, right? Summer solstice, winter solstice. 3 3s are the 3 golden triangles that make the pentagram. Why this becomes powerful? Because, oh, look at, there's Tesla's 369. On the Dendro Zodiac, there's a box with a snake on it. By the way, Nikola Tesla, he was born with 369 very strong in his chart. So he understood what was meant. Now, if you look, there's 5s or a 0 at every 5th. We've showed this to you before. This is the circle of 5ths. All music, all harmony, all healing, everything is in this. There is so much more I could go over, but that's not the purpose of this video, because we're going to talk about why is there stations on the cross. So I've just showed you the cross. I've just showed you how to make 60. This comes from the golden ratio, right? So the thing is, what we need to know from this is make sure you teach your children well. Here's a beautiful community where everybody's happy living together, and we show the little guy over here, and I modified this picture so he's showing him 0, 1, 1, 5, right? 1 to 5, 5 is the 1, and then I show the circle of 5ths and the alpha, beta, and so forth. But we need to teach the children well. So let's look to Jerusalem, i.e. the zodiac for the stations of the cross, because Jerusalem means zodiac. We've showed you this before. We're going to look at this station of the cross in the fall equinox, where the sun sets, where the sun dies on the cross, right? Every night when the sun sets, that's the sun dying on the cross. Jesus walks on the water in 2 locations. In the east, when the sun rises, the reflection is on the water. The sun is walking on the water. And then when he sets in the west, the sun also walks on the water. There's a lot of meaning behind that one, and we're going to get into that one day. So as we showed you before, in the sky, in 31 AD, beautiful people, scholars have done all the math in the Bible and said, Jesus died on the cross in 31 AD. So there's Jesus, you, right? There's Mary. There's Mary Magdalene and Spica, representing you. That represents the western portion of the cross. So we've showed you this before. And then in 527 BCE, that's when they made the Vikram Samwat Indian calendar, started their calendar then. They had October, but they're a little off. It's September. That's pretty close though, for 558 years ago. This happens every 558 years, folks. Every 558 years, the mother and you, pure love and you, meets on the cross. So we showed you that one. We showed you the one we are upon, the Phoenix Rising, that happens every 558 years in the East. And the next one is April 15th, 2023. Again, you have the mother, the sun, and the moon at her feet, which is Revelation 12:1. So this happens in the East, in the sky. So why would I care? Because you are the sun. You are the zodiac. You are the chosen one. And when you take this to memory that, I'm the one carrying the cross. I'm the one that's going to fall, maybe? Yeah. If we're not pure of love, of course we can fall and come back onto the cross, like some have stated. So I wrapped it up in this nice little picture here because this one we know, the nativity scene we just went over, because this happens on around the December winter solstice, when Mary meets with the Son on the bottom of the cross. That is the true nativity scene. And that happens every 558 years. Now this one I thought, and then me and Lex have had a lot of talkings about Jesus on the Mount of Olives. Well, when you read about the Mount of Olives, because I was missing this one, because this one here that happens every 558 years, the mother meets with the Son every 558 years at the top of the cross, up here. So the Mount of Olives. There we go. So they're talking about what's happening in the zodiac, folks. And of course, this has been literalized. Several key events in the life of Jesus as related to the Gospels took place on the Mount of Olives and in the Acts of the Apostles. It is described as the place from which Jesus ascended to the heaven. Well, of course, it's the top of the chart. Is the summer solstice not the hottest for us? Of course, it switches back and forth between us and the people south of the equator, but it's the same story. Because of its association of both Jesus and Mary. Well, yeah. Well, Jesus is met with Mary at the summer solstice. It happens not only every year, but it also happens every 558 years. And that's really important. Because if we want to understand our journey here, because we're infinite, we got to understand how to get off the cross. So I'm going to talk about pilgrimage. The pilgrimage is us walking around the cross of the zodiac. We do it as rituals because it's still breadcrumbs and we're walking in the material world just doing the same pilgrimage, but at the same token, it's just trying to remember what this really is about. So I forget where I had this. I didn't put the footnote, but at the foot of Mount Olives in Jerusalem, so at the foot of the Mount Olives on the zodiac, believed by Eastern Christians to be the burial place of Mary. So at the foot of the mountain. What's the foot of the mountain? Well, if he's at the top of the cross, the foot in the mountain is the point in the middle. Of course, Mary's there. This is your 4 stations of the cross. When you meet with pure love on the cross, and that only happens so often. This was one cycle from 31 AD, from 21 BC to 31 AD, 115 AD, 349 AD. That was one cycle that we all had on this cross because we're still here. So if you want to learn how to get off the cross, you can stay on as long as you want. You can stay on as long as you want, but be loving and you'll have a great time. So here's the math. If anybody's interested in knowing the proof of this, reach out. I got no problem sharing it, but just know, if you set your app to Sidereal Lahiri, 12 equal houses, and look when the mother aligns with the Son on those 4 points, you will see it does happen. The Phoenix rising we're upon. Revelation we're upon, so we can remember this. So when Jesus falls 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then hits the Phoenix rising. So there's your stations of the cross. So whether they have 7, 14, 28, 14 and 28 have to do with the phases of the moon. I tried looking into stuff like that. I couldn't find any relationship with it. There might be something there. As Marian said, there was only 12 and it went to 14. Well, yes, because that 12 stations of the cross is the zodiac, 100%. That is 12 stations of the cross. When you go back to the circle of 60, there is 12 sections, 0 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's your 12 hours on the clock, folks. That's why the zodiac only has 12 signs, not 13. I know there's a lot of people out there saying that the 13th sign is Ophiuchus. They're getting called by Ophiuchus and they're misunderstanding. It sits on top of the zodiac, squashing the scorpion, the materialistic snake. So a couple of quick things and then we'll be done. For reading glyphs, if anybody's interested in reading the glyphs and understanding what's on the Egyptian walls. Let's talk about the Ankh. What's the Ankh? That's the circle on the cross, right? We carry these beautiful breadcrumbs around our neck, an Ankh. The symbol for Venus and Eris is that of the Ankh. The only difference is Eris has got an arrow pointing down to where the essence is. So the story of Isis is she comes from the underworld and then she becomes visible. Well, that's why we have the FM Eris. The Greeks have a cataloging of the stars called FM Eris because they named her Eris instead of Madonna, instead of Mektekawatl, instead of Isis. So when she's on the cross, when she comes visible, she just recently came visible this century, right? Because 558 years, she has the symbol of the cross. Just like Venus. Venus represents all beings, all humans, all insects, all animals, all reptiles, everything. That's why they're on the cross and they're here as our guides. That's what cross means. When she's no longer visible and is in the underworld, or when Jesus is at the top of the cross, and the Mount of Olives, he's like Icarus near the top of the freaking sun, ready to get his wings burned because he's too high up. So when she's not on the cross, she's not visible. So you can see the difference of being on the cross and not, just in the glyphs. One more before we wrap it up. Was that some turkeys out there or what?
So, yeah, I think it's stop.
Hang on, guys, just a quick little editorial here. Yep, the turkeys came, guys. Look at that. Wow, isn't there a sign right there?
They made a noise.
Yeah, the turkeys just slammed their wings into Rob's house here to. As we're talking about the wings of Icarus, this is important, folks. So I think the turkeys are telling us something. So Mercury is the scribe of all your actions. So these are all metaphors. They're not actual beings. They're metaphors. They're vibrations of you. Mercury records everything in the waters. So every atom around you remembers. So it can vibrate you no matter where you go. It remembers your past actions. So you can see that Mercury shows that he's on the cross. So you're being scribed when you're on the cross. All your actions are being scribed. Well then, as you get enlightened, you get your wings. And that's the story of Icarus. Icarus is no longer on the cross and he has wings. So you get your spiritual prowess. You get your spiritual powers. Your manifestation abilities are going to soar soon. But watch what you use them for. Because the story of Icarus is he flies too close to the sun, his wings burn and he comes crashing down. So I just wanted to show you that if you want to get into glyph reading, it's really important that you pay attention to those type of things. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this beautiful note on a true Christmas story. I've modified this and made it the way it should read, or closer to it. So in the book of Matthew, the Magi visit the Messiah. That's you visiting the nativity scene within you in the sky. So when you realize that you are the Magi, you're the magic one, you're going to see the magic. And I've already showed you that it's in the sky. So when you go and see the real nativity scene that's in the sky, that's part of your enlightenment. So verse 1, after Christ, you, born in Bethlehem and in Judea, Bethlehem is your third eye. Or like Tammy Malash says, well, isn't that really the first eye? And the other two are the second and third? Yeah, for sure. The Magi from the east, of course, came to Jerusalem, the zodiac. Where is the one who's been born King of the Jews? Well, I just showed you. We saw his star when it rose. I just showed you that, rising, and have come to worship him. That's you. Worship yourself, because this story is about you. You're witnessing the event of you being on. If you want to skip rungs on Jacob's ladder, you got to know this is about you. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler. Well, the ruler is the one who measures the sky. When you look to the sky, you measure the sky and you pay attention to the sky, that is a true definition of a ruler. Doesn't a ruler measure? A ruler doesn't rule people, it rules themselves. You hold your own counsel. who will shepherd my people Israel. Well, if you remember, it's all about Isis is the divine, Ra, you, and El is time. So the story is about you, the mother, which is love, and time. You are infinite. So go and search carefully for the child. So I'm telling you to go look within. As soon you will find him or her. Report to me so that I too may go worship him. So in other words, they're saying to you, point to the sky and show others the truth. Because when you show others the truth, you get brownie points. It's part of your enlightenment when you say, that is what's really this is all about. Those stations on the cross and those circle of 60, those are vibrations to wake you, to come bring you out of this 2,000 years of spiritual Alzheimer's. So on coming to the house, the Energy Lighthouse, they saw the child with his mother Mary. Mary is always with the Son, you, on all stations of the cross. And that's all I have for today. Any questions before I stop recording? Anyone?
So, aligning of the Aura, whatever it is, only happens every 550 years, and the true, like, does that happen every year?
It happens every year, but it happens in 31 AD. When you looked up, Eris would be there too.
Okay.
And she'd probably present herself as a winged woman there too. So yeah, we can always see there, but every 558 years does she align at Christmas, and it's a true nativity scene. What's that like? Well, I don't remember, but I can tell you that we're
Turkeys are flying into the trees right now.
the turkeys are flying into the trees, folks. This is wild. Just say, well, so yeah, it's we witness everything on the cross every day. We witness the sun rising and the sun setting. We witness the stars doing things yearly. But what we forget about is the one that happens every 558 years. That's each section, because obviously there's so much time that they go before, and during that 558 years, and it's not equally spaced either, because it spends more time with us when it's in our head, Aries, which is cool. So yeah, in 31 AD, Eris would have been aligned there. I have this chart where I did like a few thousand years worth, and they all line up. And when you go back and look at historic stories, you can tell there's that one, so they're all there.